All right. What's up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. Legendary meaning if you email us, you are going to get a response from a person, not a chat bot. If you call us, most likely you're going to get me. My personal cell phone is on our website on like 3 pages, and you're welcome to go look it up and call me or text me anytime. You'll get me on my flip phone, and I am happy to talk to you about Schedulefly or anything you want to talk about. And we also have a very affordable price point, which is becoming more and more meaningful in today's time with all the inflation of expenses that restaurants are seeing. So simple software, human legendary support, affordable pricing. We've yet to raise our prices in 19 years in business. I'm not saying we never will, but we're sort of like the Costco hot dog so far. So give us a shot. We have a 30-day free trial, and you can sign up. Don't put a credit card in or anything like that. You can sign up. You can use it. You can call and get help. We're happy to help. If you are on pencil and paper or Excel, you are paying what I call the chaos tax, which means that you think it's free, but you're dealing with lots of time putting the schedule together, lots of time dealing with phone calls and fire drills when somebody doesn't show up. You got a manager who's spending way too much time doing that. You've also got labor leakage, unexplained or unplanned overtime scheduled, and just all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the day, you got to meet your staff where they are these days, folks. Whether we like it or not, you're talking to a guy on a flip phone here, but whether we like it or not, our staff want their schedule at their fingertips. They want to be able to push a button to see when they're working and or touch their screen to see when they're working and offer up a shift and put in their availability. And so if you're in that situation, give us a try. If you're on another scheduling software, there are a lot of good ones out there. They're also becoming very, very expensive, and a lot of times they're over-engineered. And if you just need a simple way to communicate and schedule your team, we are a great place to try. So give us a shot. All right, that's enough about Schedulefly. Now let's get into the next episode here of Restaurant Owners Uncorked. David, welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Will. I'm Dave Chicane. I'm chef owner of Artusi restaurant in Eggertsville, New York, which is just outside Buffalo. And
Eggertsville,
I
New
do have
York.
to say, I've worked with Schedulefly for many years, a couple of different operations. And when I, started putting together the concept for Artusi, I knew the one decision I didn't have to make was going with Schedulefly. So, kudos to you. I think the 3 or 4 times I've ever called, you've answered. So that's legendary customer service right there. So,
Well, dude, you didn't have to say that. Thank you very much. As you know, as a business owner, it is always heartwarming and makes your day when somebody says something nice about your business, because it's
absolutely.
owning and running a business is awesome, but it also comes with a daily set of challenges and
Yeah.
times when you're like, why am I doing this? Okay. Well, all right, Dave. Well, so if you've listened, you have, the only question I really ever ask anybody is just your backstory of how and when you got started initially in hospitality.
Um, Well, I got started, working in restaurants when I was 15, 16. The local pizza shop, went to college, became a broker. I have the lovely story of, meeting the love of my life when I was 20 years old, and,
Mm,
big Italian family, big Sunday dinners. And, I just loved it. The relationship at that time didn't work out, but, when I was kind of finished with school and trying to be an investment broker, and it felt very hollow. And
mm,
I kept going back to those Sunday dinners and the camaraderie and the love and the laughter and the shouting and the big meals and Sunday sauce. And I kept being drawn towards that and that need for nourishment and to nurture. And so I quit and got a job in the kitchen at my favorite restaurant. And that came naturally to me. Cooking came naturally to me. But it's that, and I've carried that, I guess, my entire career. I'm at the other end of my career. I've been doing this for a long time. Um, but that need to nourish, that need to provide a safe place, a safe moment. That's really what's carried me through, 30 years of doing this. So, in a bunch of different concepts. So, well, yeah,
Man, uh, I was just talking to Mike, who works on my team, and he's down at so we're part of this, there's a food distributor in the southeast, southwest named Benny Keith. Um, and they selected us as their preferred scheduling provider for their, like, what they call their host program, right? They're trying to, like, bring solutions to problems to their restaurants, help them run better. And he was telling me that last night they had this dinner, and he was kind of hanging around talking to this guy he works with one of the point of sale vendors. Spot on. Guy's name's Clayton. But Clayton owns restaurants, and he's owned restaurants as, forever. And he said that Clayton noticed the lady that works for Benny Keith that kind of hosted the thing was, like, there disassembling stuff and, like, doing all this stuff. And Clayton immediately went over, was like, how can I help? And then spent like an hour, and, Mike joined them. They spent like an hour just helping. Right. And I said, Mike, now all the other vendors, no, I mean, they're all great, but they had just, like, they were there for the dinner and they left. And I said, Mike, that right there, that's the reason Clayton did that, is because he owns restaurants, and his goal in life is to help others, nourish others, and, like, give himself to others.
yeah.
And this is what I love so much about what you do and what your peers do. And I'm talking really, really specifically about people that own and run independent restaurants more than anything, is that it's what I admire so much about y'all, is that you mentioned nothing about, oh, I wanted to have this cool life where I made a lot of money and I got, and, like, I got to come in. It's all about serving others and making their day. I mean, the first thing you did on this podcast was say something nice about my business. So what I'm getting here in a long-winded way, and I apologize, but it's something I've learned over 16 years of doing this podcast, Dave, is that, that's what, that's, this is what gets me up in the morning, is that we have an opportunity to serve restaurant owners. And to me, restaurant owners are, I, I I mean, I put y'all up there with, like, first responders in terms of, like, respect I have, because y'all often are first responders. There's an emergency in your town or whatever, you're there giving time,
Sure.
money,
Sure.
etc. But y'all do such a wonderful job that I think, for particularly until COVID, was really underappreciated by most
Mm.
people who've never done it, because they don't understand what it really takes. People started to realize during COVID, because they're like, "Uh-oh, is my favorite restaurant going to close forever? Like, how do I help?" But the the reason I've continued to do this so long is because, quite frankly, a little bit of it's selfish, because I get so much inspiration from y'all. And I think it's such an important thing that, I mean, my goal, dude, is like, and people kind of roll their eyes when I say this, but I want to have a Netflix series one day, legit, of telling the stories of independent restaurant owners and what it's really like, and what those you and your peers are really like, because I don't think most people really appreciate that. And I think it's, like, massively valuable, important part of any community. And you said your town is Eggerstown?
Eggertsville. Yeah.
Eggertsville. So in Eggertsville, you and your peers that have independent restaurants there, you're like the heart of the community.
Yeah.
I believe that. I'm so sorry for, like making this soapbox thing, but I have felt inspired, because I just feel, having just had that conversation about Clayton, I feel that so strongly, and I really want to find a way to convey that and help more people in our communities understand that, how valuable you and your peers and the restaurants in their towns are.
I think we're in a unique position, at least when I wake up every morning and have a day ahead of me. Yeah, sure. There's, 80% of it, which is the minutia and the problems and yesterday I I pulled into the parking lot at 8 a.m. and I get a text from one of the cooks. We have no gas. Okay. Well, what's going on with that? So, spent my whole day was shot because it took me 3 hours to figure out what the problem was, which was a simple button. When they cleaned the hoods the day before, it set off a trip. We didn't know. It was the first time through it. I'm only a year and a half old, at this restaurant. So, um, but so you've got 80% of running the business and orders and checking produce but that other 20%, which is, I think, why we all do it, which is to see, your cooks cooking in the kitchen and prepping and getting ready for service. And, I've got a lot of young cooks that, on the onset of this didn't have a lot of experience. And we do everything from scratch. And so to see them making traditional Neapolitan pizza dough every day and making our, Italian sausage every day and our meatballs and our, cutlet, like aiolis, and like they're learning, and to see the pride that they take in that. And then we open for service and we see customers coming in, and I get to it. All my restaurants always had open kitchens. This one is very open. They are on top of us. They're watching us cook what we cook. Um, but you get this great interaction, and that's the nurturing. It's not just nurturing your staff as an operator I'm talking about, or as a chef, nurturing your staff. It's the neighborhood, it's the community, it's the regular faces that are coming in every day and grabbing a quick coffee before they go. It's that interaction, and it's really unique to our business of becoming that corner, at least as an independent. I'm not in a big strip plaza. I'm not in a big box. I'm in an old building. It's unique. It's part of the neighborhood. And I specifically picked, when I moved back to Buffalo, I looked all around and I said, if I'm going to open another restaurant, it has to be in this neighborhood, because this is the feel that I want to go for, and so to be a part of that, I feel very lucky. But again, getting back, when I get up in the morning, it's not the 80% that drives me. It's not the dollars and cents. It's that 20% of the day where you're interacting with staff, interacting with the customers, and being able to share, this restaurant is a reflection of me. It's a reflection of my experiences and my built knowledge. And so, for me to be able to kind of put that out there and get the feedback, and it's a wonderful exchange.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always tell people, I tell my friends, um, I live in Charlotte, and like everybody down here is in banking or investment banking or VC, whatever. It's like all the finance bros, and then me, the, you know, random entrepreneur dude. And then, I try to explain to them, I'm like, you guys don't have any idea how hard these restaurant owners work, and how every day there is either a metaphorical or possibly even a literal fire. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, metaphorical, like gas is out, everything has to stop, got to deal with this. Like, got to, you're like a fireman, like every day. Oh, bell's ringing. Like, what do we got now?
Yeah.
So, and that, I mean, that's, but that's it's interesting you say 80/20, right? The 20% fuels you enough that you can, manage
Yeah.
through all the 80% of the stuff that's not as fun.
Yeah.
Um, well, so you started your restaurant, you said a year and a half ago, you all opened up?
This one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you open it? What was the story behind it?
Uh, so coming out of COVID, I think, or during COVID, I think everybody under the sun was cooking bread and experimenting, and we were all at home, and okay, well, let's just create this sourdough and watch it rise, watch it grow. But I did the same thing. I was in Hudson, New York. I had another restaurant that was obviously closed down during COVID. In New York, everything was closed down. And so well, I'm going to get back to the story. So earlier, I mentioned the love of my life at 20. Coming out of COVID, I happened to be back in Buffalo. I still have family here, and was doing some Christmas shopping and literally bumped into her 30 years after the last time I saw her. She was with her daughter at a store, and I happened to be there, and we had coffee the next morning and fell in love all over again. And
Oh,
so we're engaged again, and she
dude.
brought me back to Buffalo. She brought me back home. So I sold my restaurant, I sold my house, and I moved back to Buffalo. And I said, okay, now what am I going to do? And so, I was playing with pizzas and doughs and baguettes, and what am I going to do next? And I didn't want to get back in the restaurant business. I was like, I've done this for 30 years, and I've had 5 restaurants, and I've had successes, I've had failures. I need something else. I've got a whole nother career in me. Um, and but then the more I started looking, and the more I started thinking about the business, and it's what I do, it's who I am, it's a part of who I am now, not just as a chef, but as a restaurateur. Um, and I thought I had something to bring to the table still. So one of the things coming out of COVID that a lot of restaurateurs were doing that had multiples, or that, had fine dining, and then they had the more casual, offshoots. They were streamlining everything. And I kind of liked that, where let's put out something that's really fantastic, but focus in on, one specific thing, small menu, counter service, but do it at an elevated level. And
Mhm.
so Artusi was born, which is our main thing, is a unique thing that not a lot of people are doing. We call it a piega, which is Italian for fold. So we take Neapolitan style pizza dough, we stretch it out, we fold it in half, we bake it for a minute in a 900-degree oven. We take it out, we open it up, and we make a great sandwich out of it. So you're getting hot
Mhm.
bread out of the oven, really high quality ingredients, everything from scratch. And so we've got 10 of those sandwiches. We've got a couple of salads, and we do these little cups of joy, which are my fiance's cookies. Really homey, really simple, and it's been a hit. The neighborhood loves it. And we do other things. We do a dinner series on the weekends where I literally chef and cook every plate. It's a whole separate menu, more elevated. We have a little separate dining room, about 18 seats, um, where we do, china and flatware, and stemware and full service. And it's its own weekly menu, which has been a hit as well. So it's super fun. I think I wanted to create something, again, getting back to the neighborhood, that was really unique and really for the neighborhood. And so that's what we did. So
It really harkens back to what you were talking about, in your childhood with family dinners um,
yeah.
and just taking that and scaling that out to a community. And I suspect you have a lot of regular customers there. And
Yeah, it's been super well received. I feel very fortunate that, it was a taco shop for 50 years, this space that we took over that went out of
oh,
business. So we completely gutted it. And I think it's really important. The way I look at it is, again, one of the things I said is I want the speed of a Chipotle, where you go in, boom, 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 and you're sitting or you're taking it out. But I want the elegance of maybe a more refined restaurant. So all of the dining experience isn't about the food alone. It's not about the room alone. It's not about the service alone. It's a combination of this. I think back on my best quote unquote food memories, and I can barely remember the food. It's the experience. It's
yeah.
in some cases it's the room, in some cases it's the service, and in some cases it's the food, the vibe, and so I put a lot of effort and attention into the details of the room and the sound and the service, and how we train people, even though it's counter service. You basically place your order at the counter, but then they become full-on servers. So we're pouring wine at the table. We're clearing you. We're bussing you. We're delivering your food. You know, the cooks will bring the food out. You know, if the servers are busy. So it's kind of like welcome to our home, and we're going to take care of you. And you know, nice tables and nice chairs, and you know, nice tile everywhere. You know, so it's a little bit more elevated in terms of it's not your standard quick service, you know, operation. So, and I love it. I think it's a beautiful room. It's a beautiful, the servers are great. You know, one of the great things, you know, we're always reading our reviews. Um, uh, One of the great things that I see when I read the reviews is they're always commenting on how nice the staff is, how engaged they are, you know, and that takes training, that takes um, you know, managing and implementing, but the end result is it's a beautiful room with a good vibe, great service, and great food, and so that's all you can hope for, you know, in a restaurant. So
Um, you said you're always reading your reviews. Do most people put their reviews now on Google? I know for the longest time it was Yelp. Or is it?
yeah, it's Google now. For us, it is definitely. I will get a Yelp one every once in a while. I read them because they pop up on my phone. You know, like new review. So you know, I try to respond to them personally. You know, as soon as they happen, um, good or bad. Fortunately, most are very good. But you know, I want to stay on top of that. So, but yeah, most of them are Google.
Well, I think my interpretation is if you're responding, even if somebody, whatever, that you guys missed, somebody had a
Yeah,
bad experience, maybe they're in a bad mood, you know, but they give a not so positive review. But if you if you respond, you know, and people are looking at and they're saying, "Oh, look, the owner seems to respond to everyone." That alone signals to me like this is an engaged owner. This is somebody who cares.
yeah,
Like when you see negative reviews and there's no response, it's like they even give a crap. Like
yeah.
so, I think it's really smart that you do that. I mean, that would be always be my interpretation as a consumer that. All right. Well, I mean, of course, every restaurant's going to have, you know, a missed opportunity or something. But gosh, if the owner's engaged and like, hey, sorry, you know, we missed, text me, I'll take it, whatever. Then it's like, ah, man, I like these guys are on it. They care.
And I say that, and I've said this for many years to my staff in trainings and just in operation. At any given time in the restaurant business, there's 1,000 things happening, and something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's how we handle it. And if everything else is perfect and that one thing goes wrong, and you acknowledge it immediately, the customer's going to be fine. You know, like mistakes happen. I mean, you know, we cook 150 of these things before 5 o'clock. You know, there will be an error. You know, there will be, you know, there's just so many ingredients and so many opportunities for a mistake to happen. Now, listen, you know, our goal every day is to not have that happen, obviously. But if you're engaged with a customer and the room is clean and you know the music's right and the rest of the food is great, if a mistake happens, you know, it's like a spilled glass of water. That's an accident. It's gonna happen. It's how you come and clean it up and you know, make sure the customer is happy and okay, and then you move on, and the customer will move on as well. You know, I mean, they're our guests and they want to have a nice time. They're not going in there looking for a bad time, you know. So you know, somebody once said to me, the best business is an ice cream shop because everyone comes in smiling, you know, and
Yeah, that's right.
they're getting ice cream, you know. So that's kind of the mentality of, you know, we want them coming in smiling, like they know they're going to get a good product and they're going to get, and by product, I don't mean the food. I mean everything and experience. So
Um, there is we were just talking about this on an episode yesterday. It's kind of, have you ever heard of Jocko Willink?
no,
He's like a retired Navy SEAL commander, and he has a really awesome podcast.
Oh, Jocko. Yeah. Jocko. I didn't recognize the
Just
last name.
Jocko. That's all you need to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he has this book. I got a copy of it over there. I think it's called Extreme Ownership, and it's just like when you own everything, even if it's like you don't like, it's not your fault, but like if you own everything, it gives you the opportunity to be like, okay, I'm going to own this. Now I get to be in charge of solving for it or whatever it is. And that's such an important mentality instead of like blaming or, oh, it's not my fault because, it's not my fault your food came out, it's the cook's fault or whatever. Like just own everything. And it actually liberates you to feel like now I get to control what happens next and the outcome. And there's this, I'll never forget this story. It's one of the best stories. There's a guy he came on this podcast years ago. His name's Sean Wilfong, and he had just bought this restaurant and they changed the brand and all this kind of stuff. And it was like their first day open, but they still had I don't remember it was something about like, they still had the ketchup bottles from the last place. And I guess something happened. Like he's there and this dude, it's like a hamburger place. And this dude opens a ketchup bottle or he starts to squeeze it and it blows up like all over. And he's like, this was here in Charlotte and like, these are like bankers. And this dude's got on like a suit and a white,
Oh,
shirt. It blows up all over him. Sean sees it and he's like, okay. And several other tables are all looking. It's like a scene. He looks at all the other tables. He's like, all of your food's on the house. I got y'all. Like, that's a bad experience. He goes, sir, what size shirt do you wear? And he told him, he's like, all right, hang tight. And he runs out and he runs to like a Brooks Brothers store down the street and buys like 3 different shirts of that size and comes back. He's like, which one do you want? It's on, it's on me or whatever. But like, he just owned that and he turned it from like, and my point is like, he turned what could have been a really negative experience for that guy or negative memory for that guy and his table and the tables around him. Like, oh my God, like what a mess that place was. But he turned it in such a positive thing that everybody walked away like, no, that was badass. Look what that
yeah.
guy did. Like, so you can turn these things into something really cool. And so now, that dude has told that story dozens of times. Like,
Sure.
that's what happened when I went to this place and like, guess what the owner did? And so it's like turning this, what could be a negative thing, but you own it.
Yeah.
And then you go make it a positive thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's a
And
good one.
it's a good one. And it's what you would do. And here's my question is how do you, and I asked Sean the same question. You're the owner. Of course you're going to do that. How do you get your team members to, other than leading by example, like how do you find and keep team members that can embrace that same philosophy and understand the importance? And they're never going to care as much as you because it is your baby, but find people that want to take care of your baby, as well as anybody could.
Yeah.
Um, no easy challenge in general. And particularly now it's hard, right? To find people like that. How are you doing that?
It's that's a great question. And obviously we're as operators, we're all struggling with this new post-COVID dynamic where we had some sort of massive loss in our industry of workers choosing to do something else. I have no idea what they're doing, still haven't figured it out. But for when I was coming up and learning, I was always like, when I become a manager, this is what works and this is what doesn't work. And I always kept that, that ledger in my head of, uh, you know, I mean, I've got so many stories of what worked, obviously senior managers and looking like, wow, that's how he or she handled that. That was brilliant, and diffused the situation or got through it or got through to the person. And then I saw, the bad side of our business, which is, a lot of the bad managers, the temper, the drug use, alcohol use, all that stuff flowing over into the job. So that's what not to do. And I kind of just developed this, again, nurturing mentality where when I opened my first restaurant, I said, I want to create a space. We all have baggage on the outside. We all have 80 million things going on the outside.
Right.
My goal as an owner operator is to create a space where you know you're going to come in and be safe for that 6 hour shift or that 8 hour shift or that 9 hour shift, that all that other stuff can wait. And when I interviewed people, and I would hire somebody, I'd be like, that stays at the door. When you come in here, this is, this is your focus, and use it as a relief if you have to. I don't have to think about that stuff anymore because I'm here. And then my goal was to create that space that's so fulfilling and challenging and rewarding that they believe in it, and they believe that they can kind of leave all that stuff at the door. I do the same thing. When I go into the kitchen, I've got 1,000 things going on, but when I start cooking, that's what I'm focused on. And I don't have to think about it. I mean, you ultimately you think about it, but I know I can focus on cooking for the next few hours and do the best that I can as a chef. And all that other stuff will be there when I'm done. And then I can go back to it. So, my goal has always, and specifically, or most recently with Artusi, is, I've got a lot of young people that, listen, 90% of the restaurants out there right now are buying from big distributors and opening bags and putting it in a fryer or taking it from a freezer. It's pre-done. I went to a food show a few weeks ago and I was like, I can't use any of this, like nothing, because we do it all from scratch. So I had to teach them, but again, that's the challenge for them. But they become, if you do it properly, I think they become engaged. They take ownership. And the other thing that, when I bring people in, I say you have to have an eyes up approach. So I don't want taskmasters. I don't want you staring at your cutting board doing that one specific task. I want you to look up and see the whole picture. And for a 20-year-old, that worked in a cafe and made coffee, to come into a kitchen where we're doing pretty complicated stuff for such a simple outcome, and then to say, look up and see, is that espresso machine dirty? Does it need to be wiped down? Does the salad station have lettuce hanging over from the last, does the table up front need to be wiped down because they busted but didn't wipe it? That's a lot, and it takes time. But what I'm seeing after a year, I still have all the same people that started with me. Now they're looking up. And now they're not planning for the shift. They're planning for the week. They're not planning for, I'm letting them know we've got a catering project on Monday morning. They know they have to work backwards to make enough dough on Thursday to cover that. There's this, it's starting to click. And, I said earlier, if a server is backed up, the cooks will deliver the food, and they know what table to go to. They know, they'll bus on their way back. Like, they're all in it as a team, kind of working together. And I think that's, so that management style of giving them ownership, holding them accountable. So when mistakes are made or something's not kind of made up to the level that I expect and demand, they're accountable, but also to give them ownership and freedom to go do it, and trust. And I think that's worked. It's worked, in my last restaurant I had for 11 years. And, I had people there for a very long time. A lot of the people that work in our industry, at least in the front of the house, it's a, uh, they're doing something else, but this is just to make extra money, or they're doing something else for the,
Yeah.
even for the camaraderie or the social engagement these days, just to be out there. But people have stayed with me for a very long time in my operations. And I think it's because I provide that safe zone and the ability to thrive, in an operation. I tell staff when I hire them, I'll give you the tools to make money. We're not going to have crappy equipment or, ripped up spatulas or, an espresso machine that's breaking every month. I'll invest in the tools to make your job easier and more efficient and because I want you to be happy here and put out a good product.
Oh, first of all, the eyes up approach, I love that.
Yeah.
And it's so apropos right now because so many people literally are eyes down because they're looking down on their freaking screen all the
Yeah.
time and
Yeah. Yeah.
not present and not intentional and aware of what's going on. So, um, what a I love that phrase, dude. I'm totally stealing that from you. Like, I'll give you credit, but I'm going to use that because I think that's really important for this generation. As a father of a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old, I can very much appreciate that. And we're actually talking to one of our kids right now about, getting a job this summer um, as a hostess in a restaurant. And part of it's just because you can't be on your phone and you have to be engaged and you have to be aware of what's happening and you'll meet other people. And I mean, the socialization now these days with, and just the being around other people and not, you know, being on a screen in your room, Snapchatting. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a thing, man. It is really a thing. And I mean,
It's
everybody gets it. I got to tell you, man, it's amazing to me how many people see me on my, like, it's almost every day I'm somewhere and I'm like talking on my flip phone or something. And like somebody's like, dude, tell me about that. I keep thinking about going back to a flip phone. Like most people, I mean, it comes with it. It's, there's trade-offs, but and most people actually won't do it, but they want to. And the reason they want to is because they know there's we know intuitively, I don't need to be, as a human being, I don't need to live my life staring at a screen. I need to live my life being present and intentional and
yeah.
around other people and interacting with other people. And we went too far in one direction with that, and we're all starting to realize it, which is healthy. Uh,
Pendulum.
yeah, pendulum. And then, I mean, my hope is that, I've always been like, it's weird because here I own a technology business, but it's limited to, it's not like overwhelming tech, but like the goal. And I mean, gosh, man, I was a little worried about AI a few months ago because I'm like, oh, is everybody gonna be able to make their own scheduling software or whatever? And
Yeah.
the answer is no, because I mean, I'm already spending gobs of money just using Claude to help me like think through ideas and plan. And every time I ask them, it's like, oh, you got to put more money in. I'm like, okay, got it. That's not going to happen. We actually have the data in Schedulefly to use AI to make our software even easier. Because what I want is I want you to be able to, or whoever makes your schedule, to be able to like be driving to Artusi and just call up, your scheduling agent and just be like, hey, make the schedule for next week. And it knows like weather, events, and whatever else. Like it's able to see that. But then like the things it doesn't know, you'll just tell it like, do not put Will and Sarah together because they just broke up. So don't put them on the same schedule for a few days because they're pretty
Sure.
pissed at each other. And then John, John's green. And normally I know you wouldn't schedule him on Friday night, but go ahead and do it because he keeps asking me for a Friday night shift. And like, let's let him, like, he's a hustler. Like, let's let him try one. Done. And then you get to the restaurant, you look at it, you approve it, it's out the door, right? Like, I think that a lot of this technology, or I hope, the way it gets deployed effectively is to enable you and your managers to not be in the back doing office tasks, that it's able to do a lot of that, or like, it's not going to do everything, but 90% of it, right? Like
Yeah.
what I just described. Because what people want, what guests want, what employees want, what you want is to be interacting, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the more that this stuff can like kind of handle things, this it's weird because it's like leveraging tech as a tool to create better human guest to guest owner to guest or manager to guest or staff to guest or interactions with the staff. Like, hey, I saw that episode happen because you're there, you're present, you're not in the back, right?
Yeah. Two things on that. When I was developing this concept and so the last one I did was 15 years ago. And so I was pretty analog. But way back then, 15 years ago, we didn't have any of this, especially not AI, but all the software that's implemented now. My POS system right now can crunch numbers and create catering leads and it does advertise on Google, and they do so much. And then I've got a management software that can anyway. I wanted to embrace the technology and say, let's bring this in. I want to be able to pick up my phone and snapshot and see exactly where I'm at. And that takes time, and it takes a lot of energy to learn it and to integrate the three, my accounting software, my POS software, and this other management software. And then it takes time out of your day and your week if you're going to use it. I mean, if you're going to put all this effort into it, you want to use it. Again, as a small independent, that falls on me. And so my hope with AI is that exactly what you're saying. It gets implemented to free me up so that I can just say, hey, what are these numbers and what should I be looking for? And why did my langoustines go up 20% this week? And what do I have to do to adapt to that? So, and that it spits out an answer and helps me. And then I can be, focused on, the interactions and the staff training and, that stuff, be there at the restaurant rather than in my office, on a Monday morning or, spending the whole morning, looking at this stuff and trying to figure it out. So, fingers crossed that's, we're kind of right before that, but it's starting to happen. Obviously you're talking about it. So,
Oh, it's going there for sure.
yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's such a, it can be such a great tool if it has the right data and is trained properly, and
Yeah.
it hopefully makes life a lot easier. It's in its infant stages. I mean, my kids were laughing at me. They were home for Easter from college and all this stuff, and I'm sitting there one night. It's like Saturday night. They were watching a movie, and I'm like, goofing around on my laptop. I was using Claude to help me design a, a, a marketing document, and it kept getting something wrong. And I was, I'm like, well, no, like, this is what I need you to do with that section. Anyway, so it gets it wrong like 3 times. And then, and I'm like, look, like, let me get as specific as I can. It's like, oh, cool. But you got to put more money in for me to do the next step. And I was like, out of nowhere, I'm like, what the hell? This sucks. My kids look at me and they start laughing. And they're like, you're yelling at Claude. I'm like, I am. And then I'm like, asking it, I'm like, how do I not pay for all the mistakes you just made that use my time? And it's like, you'll have to check with customer service. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh, well, whatever. It's getting there though. It is. It's like early days, but it just gets smarter and smarter. And it is really helpful. It's helped me a lot. It's helped me do things I couldn't do. Like,
wow.
how do I design this marketing flyer? Like, well, I got to go hire somebody and try to explain and all this back and forth. We're rebuilding our website right now. Through using AI as a tool. Like,
Wow.
our website's dated, our SEO sucks, like all this stuff. We've known this for a while, and then I talked to this dude and he's like overseas, and it was going to be like 15 grand or something like that, and all this back and forth. And my guy, John, was like, dude, like, we can do, and he came up with something like, I'm like, holy cow, like, that's amazing.
Wow.
Time savings and resource savings. And now if we do that so quickly, it frees me up to spend more time doing stuff like this and
Yeah.
doing podcast episodes and talking to our customers. And that's what it should do for y'all, and make the human interaction easier to accommodate because you're spending less time dealing with all the tech.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah. So what are I have things that I want to ask you about, because they seem to be challenges that everybody's facing right now. But before I do, like, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now that you think about at night?
I think, listen, this is, for as long as I've been in this business, this is a, business of percentages and margins. And, everybody in the business knows it. We're working on really slim margins, and, there, my biggest concern is that, when I talk to young people that are interested in the business, I say, what do you think, we make on a Saturday night? And then I say, well, this. Oh, and then there was Monday, which we did a third of the business. So we have to account for that because we didn't make anything on Monday. And so I kind of tell them, what prime cost is and what insurance and rent and all of our fixed costs and that little percentage at the end, that's what we're making over the course of a month or a quarter or a year. So with that mentality, those margins are getting smaller. And um, I think as an independent, uh, you know, uh, bigger restaurant operations can have a budget to uh, promote themselves through social media and through, all these other avenues.
Yep.
We don't have that. And so it's how do you, I don't ever think, I've never gone into a market with any of my few restaurants that I've had saying I want to compete with anybody. I always looked for a hole and tried to fill it. And Artusi is the same way. It is a concept that I wanted to do, but that location, I'm not competing with anybody. The other restaurants, I'm unique, I'm different. We all have something to bring to the table. I don't expect everybody to come to my restaurant just exclusively. It's a small neighborhood, and the ones that are there all serve a different need. um but there's yeah, this past couple of years with tariffs and produce prices and meat prices and labor getting more expensive after COVID and insurance getting more like everything's increasing. You can't pass that to the plate in every
Yeah.
in every case. So, you know, we and what we do specifically at Artusi, one of the great things is nobody else is doing it. So it's a unique product, which is what you always want. Um, but since we do literally everything from scratch, it takes a lot of labor. And so we're using a better quality, ingredient, higher cost ingredient, higher labor to produce that ingredient. And then all the other fixed costs are, general operating costs on top of that. So, it, while I'd love to just be able to go in and cook and have fun, the business end of it takes a lot more attention than it ever needed to in previous experiences. And the level of error, or you miss one thing, the time it takes to recover is a lot longer because your margins are a lot slimmer. So I never went into this for money. I went into it as I went into this business. I became a chef. I still call myself a chef. Um, love that part. I love that part of me as a human being. My ability to cook and to produce food that people enjoy, and it's that nourishment thing on a personal level. That's the chef part of me. The operator part of me is, you know it's really great to create a great room and a great concept and train the staff. But at the end of the day, the accountant in me, it says we have to watch every single penny. So much so that I get stressed out when I see kids using we've got these fancy salad to go containers that nobody's using. And I saw in Montreal once, and I tracked them down, and they get shipped to me because not your regular paper supplier doesn't carry them. They're expensive, but they're great. Nobody else is using them. And it's, it's not this plastic cup that you're eating the salad out. It's a, firm paper tub with a nice lid. And it's, and then I see somebody saying, I'm going to take something. They make a salad for themselves in one of those and then throw it out. I'm like, wait, we have bowls. Like if you're going to eat a salad here, use a bowl because that's 75 cents and multiply that by 365, and 15 staff. Like little stuff like that is what keeps me up at night is how do we prevent those little errors or those little, you relax 1 second and, and there goes your profit. So it's slimmer than ever and it's more uncertain than ever. Um, I, again, uh, you know, on our dinner series, I was featuring scallops coming from Boston. Fantastic product, $29 a pound. The next week, I ordered more. They were $39 a pound. So that throws everything up. Now, I print the menus the day of because it changes, and I create a menu and print it so I can make a price adjustment. But you can't do that with our cafe menu. That doesn't change. Those prices are fixed.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
if red peppers that we go through, cases upon cases upon cases, you know, they went up 80% at one point over the winter. Well, I can't change the price of one of my piegas. I have to eat that.
Hey.
So, and everybody
Uh,
needs to get paid on Friday.
but
So,
everybody still got to get paid, and exactly.
vendors have to get paid, and they don't care. So all that pressure falls on us as the independent and as the owner, and that's the pressure. So,
Well, finding ways to keep your costs low at like the containers is huge. And then the other part is how do we get more people to find us and
yeah,
come in?
yeah,
Um, you and I were talking briefly. I wanted to mention this because we were talking before we started recording. I was asking you about owner.com.
yeah,
So, um, they, so owner.com, the backstory about them, I'll get it mostly right, I think, but Adam Guild, who founded this thing, brilliant dude. He's a, I think he was a Peter Thiel fellow, like where he didn't go to, like, these are like some of the smartest people, anywhere in high school that get to do this, but didn't go to college, built this business because his mom owned I think she owned a salon. No, maybe it was like a dog grooming place. It was a dog grooming place, independent, small, like, how do we, he's like, your website's not real good. Your SEO is not good. Like, I can help you fix that, mom. And he did. And like, it resulted in her getting a lot more business. And so he started owner.com to help restaurants basically have the tools that a big chain would have, right? Like an app, right? So the story I remember him telling was like, why should Domino's have this awesome online presence and this app that's so slick and useful, but the independent pizza place down the street can't have that? Like, well, we want to democratize that and enable them to do that. And so that's what they're doing. And they focus only on independent restaurants. And it's like they build a website, they do commission free ordering, branded apps, marketing, CRM, like all this kind of stuff. It's really cool. And I've gotten to know them through, as I was mentioning, this Benny Keith program, but neat. I mean, it's a great tool. It may be something, if you want to go to their site, if you're interested, I can.
yeah, absolutely.
Because they're doing a really good job of like giving independent restaurants those tools at a really affordable price they're driving results. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like their customers like them because it works.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. But it's great to see most of these things are built for like larger operations, chains, franchises. And, we've always been really focused on independence. And it's nice to see somebody that's also has that same mentality of Adam's talked about like small. I mean, I think they'll go de-verticalize eventually, like not just for restaurants, but like if you own a business, we have all the tools to make you a small business. So
Sure.
they don't work with larger ones. They turn down larger ones. They're only focused on independence. So, um,
Fantastic.
yeah. All right, man. Well, I want to respect your time. I know you're a busy dude. I have like 1,000 other questions I'd like to ask you. Maybe we'll do another episode sometimes. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Dave, before we wrap this up?
No, I want to get back to the staff and kind of creating the space, because you mentioned you used the word twice right after, and it was intention, and it's something that I really believe in in how I lived my life, and what I try to instill to the younger people in the business, which is, treat everything with intention and act with intention. And that's, whether you're chopping an onion or serving a glass of wine or making a coffee, I don't just coast through it. And I think we were talking a little bit about this with the social interaction and people being brought up on their phones, looking at their phones, and but to be able to eyes up and with intention, I think that would be, 1B on that eyes up phrase, which is, act with intention. And uh, it, we have a lot of challenges as small independents every day, and it's not getting any easier. I have hope, that we talked about AI and that can ease, but if we live with intention and we act and we run our businesses with that intention, it's hugely rewarding. And there's nothing that could ever imagine doing that is as rewarding as providing that to other people. So that's it.
I I got that word from Dave Query. He owns Big Red F Restaurant Group out in Boulder, Colorado. He's in restaurants for, I don't know, 40 years now. And he was one of the first people that ever came on this podcast back in 2010 when I had to tell people what a podcast was. But I remember him talking about operating with intention.
Yeah.
And he said exactly, it was literally like you just basically said it verbatim. I mean, y'all have a like mind, which is everything you do, just be present in doing that and aware that you're doing it, and do it with intention and purpose, because it will, people notice the smallest things, but they can tell if food is cooked with love.
Yeah.
They can tell if somebody is not just pouring a glass of wine, but is pouring it with focus and intention. Like
Yeah.
it's this intuitive thing that we know and we feel it and we can't exactly put our finger on it. But like you mentioned this earlier, a lot of times your best experiences at a restaurant, it was just the feeling you got, right? I mean, what was it? Whether it's Maya Angelou or who said this, like people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel, and how you make them feel is always going to be really, really positive if everything you do is with presence and intention in that moment, and being aware and living in that moment, not
Yeah.
what just happened or what's getting ready to happen, but like being there. So, um, that's something that this generation now has not grown up with as much of that as like you and I did.
Yeah.
But I hope we can, as you said, I hope that pendulum swings back. I will say this again, 22, 19, and 16, my kids, like my daughter got rid of Snapchat. Like they know. I mean, we talk about it. They're like, I hate this thing. I'm on it. Like, I can't stand, like they know. So that's good. At least being aware is the first step. And then hopefully we find this happy medium. I feel like, again, like tech and humanity are converging in a way that like, if it merges the right way in the right confluence, it can flow together downstream, in a really,
Yeah.
like a barbell where like, one end balances out the other. And I believe that. I mean, I'm an eternal optimist, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You
I
and me both.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that will happen. I think we will force it to happen because we're wired a certain way as humans that we don't want this tech to take over our lives. We want it to be a tool for us to have more
Better
enjoyable
lives.
lives. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
Great.
man. Well, uh, my only request is, if you will go to your Do you listen to podcasts often, or?
I listen to yours.
Yeah, man. Now we're talking. Well, go
I
give us.
have been. They've been fantastic. I'm a big supporter, so it's great.
Well, this is the greatest thing ever. Is that somebody that listens is coming on? This is always I really appreciate that so much, man. Give us if you're on Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star review.
You got it.
If you throw a comment in there, it helps. We can't respond to them, which I hate that. I wish I could, but we like they don't let us respond. But it does help to get reviews. And all of you listening, go for it. Click that 5 stars on whatever you're on. If you can throw in a comment, it's great and the reason I asked for this, y'all, is if you like the show, the more ratings we get, the more the algorithms are like, oh, this show is helpful. And so it puts it in front of more people. That's why we want that. We don't make any money off this show, but we do want it to get in front of more people because it's helpful content, because people like Dave come on here and just provide wonderful wisdom and education and advice for all of you that are listening. So thank you all. Thank you, Dave. That is a wrap. More episodes coming soon. In fact, I'm recording another one in 25 minutes. So y'all stay tuned. See ya.